Okay, so now I've moved to the left rear where I've completed some initial welding on this flare. So as you come down here in the front, you can see that I was able to cut and get a pretty good fit, and then I tacked in here with 30 seconds or a minute wait time between these tacks. And this is pretty flush here. Now what happened is that, let's move to show you the cutoff wheel that I used. So for cutting, I used a DeWalt battery operated cutoff tool with a diamond blade that is not like an asbestos type fiber blade that will wear down with time, but rather this is a beast that will cut through steel like it's butter. So the issue is that with any cutoff wheel, you have about 1.5 millimeters on the cutting tool. The width of that cut is wide, so it's about 1.5 millimeters, close to 2 millimeters. So the error on that, the plus or minus error, when you make your cut, turns out to be about a 2 millimeter gap. So this is about the closest I could get. So that's no real issue, because the spot welds are really, they're filling in, and this is very smooth here. I haven't even used a hammer on this. This fits really nicely. These are all very flush here, where they met up pretty nice. The only thing is this gap here, but that's not a problem, because this will be filled in with spot welds, right? I'll really run about 1-inch tacks and then move downstream to keep the cooling. 1-inch tacks, 1-inch tacks, and then move back and forth, reciprocating. So I'm left with this 2 millimeter gap here on the front. And that was before I wanted to get started, so I moved ahead and did that. And then I said that is too large. And then I went to my local Harbor Freight tool store and bought a pneumatic air saw. This specifically is a Harbor Freight. It happens to be like McGraw brand. But it's an air saw that operates optimally at 90 psi, and it's quite, you can see it's not large, it's actually very compact, it's quite small. And this is a 32 tooth per inch blade on there, so that's a very good, that's a very fine blade. And you have to buy the blades separately in this. This costs $29, and it is a marvel. It cuts through this like butter. Now, when I transitioned to using this air saw with the 32 tooth per inch saw, by the way, this blade reciprocates 10,000 times per minute. So at 90 psi, my compressor is a 6.2 SCFM at sea level. The CFM at sea level is 6.2, so it's a 30-gallon compressor with a large half-inch motor on it with a belt. So it's a strong compressor. So I have no limitations with it. That cuts through this Fender like butter. And what I want to show you is the following. If you look at the width of some of these cuts, there are regions where this is not even a millimeter when you do push in on this. So that is a max a millimeter. But the blade on this is not even really, it's short of a millimeter. It's very small. So you get a really thin cut on this air saw, this pneumatic air saw, specifically from Harbor Freight, which does a really nice job. And then if you happen to trim into your new flare, it's just going to follow that on your old sheet metal. So that's not a problem. But as soon as you transition, and you can see, I'll go to the demarcation where I transition from the cutoff tool to the air saw. So right here is a cut with the cutoff tool where I pushed in and ensured that this was level before I tacked it. And right here was where I transitioned to the air saw. So you can see the difference here, how tight that clearance is when using that pneumatic air saw. So, and it cuts through this like butter. So I was able to get a really nice, as you can, I was able to get a really nice fit right here, where that worked out pretty nicely. And then I will press this in. Again, for me, I'm not going to hammer before I place these spot welds in. I'm just going to match up as much as possible. And so there you go.